Chapter 1. The day started like any other in the small, isolated town of Eldridge Hollow. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the quaint houses that lined Maple Street. The McAllister family had just moved into their new home, a sprawling Victorian that stood at the end of the lane, its once vibrant paint peeling under the relentless grip of time. Sarah, the youngest daughter, had already discovered an unsettling secret hidden within the walls. "Mom, look!" Sarah exclaimed, pointing at the wall of their living room. The sunlight caught something. Shadows, dark and elongated, danced across the surface like twisted fingers reaching out from the abyss. "Just shadows, sweetheart," her mother Helen replied, brushing off the child's concerns. "It's probably just the trees outside. They can play tricks on the eyes." But Sarah's eyes were wide with fear. "No, Mom, they're different. They move when I'm not looking." "Enough of your nonsense," Helen snapped, her patience wearing thin. She turned her back on Sarah, her mind occupied with unpacking boxes and settling into their new life. As the days turned into weeks, the shadows grew more pronounced, creeping into the corners of the McAllister home like a dark mist. The family began to hear whispers at night, faint murmurs that sent shivers down their spines. Helen tried to brush it off as the wind, but deep down she felt it, a weight pressing upon her heart. Could it be the house? Henry, her husband, asked one evening as they lay in bed, the shadows flickering ominously on the walls. Some old trauma trapped in the walls? Helen remained silent, her eyes fixed on the shadows that twisted and writhed like living creatures. "Maybe," she whispered, but the word felt hollow, echoing within the confines of her mind. Chapter 2. The shadows seemed to grow bolder, pulsating with a life of their own. One night, while the family was gathered in the living room, a loud crash shattered the stillness. The sound reverberated through the house and the lights flickered ominously. "What was that?" Sarah shrieked, her voice cracking with fear. "Probably just the wind," Henry said, though his voice trembled slightly. But Helen felt it, an icy grip of dread wrapping around her heart. She stood up, her legs trembling as she approached the source of the noise, a toppled bookshelf in the corner. The shadows danced in the dim light, their movements almost mocking. "Mom, I don't want to be here anymore," Sarah cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Shh, it's okay, sweetheart," Helen comforted her, though she felt anything but okay. She glanced at Henry, who looked as pale as a ghost, his eyes darting around the room as if expecting something to leap out at him. "Maybe we should leave," he suggested, his voice barely above a whisper. "Leave? And go where?" Helen retorted, anger bubbling beneath her skin. "This is our home now." But deep down, she shared his fear. The house was suffocating, the shadows growing more sinister with each passing day. They seemed to whisper secrets, guttural tales of despair that tugged at her sanity. Chapter 3. The final straw came one fateful night when Sarah woke up screaming. Helen rushed to her room, her heart pounding in her chest. "Mom, they're coming for me," Sarah sobbed, her tiny body shaking as she pointed toward the wall. "What's coming?" Helen asked, her voice tight with fear. "The shadows. They're angry." Helen turned to the wall, the shadows twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes, their darkness swallowing the light. Panic surged through her veins as she felt a cold breath on her neck, a presence lurking just beyond her vision. "Henry!" she yelled. "Get in here!" He rushed in, eyes wide with confusion. "What's happening?" "Look!" Helen pointed at the wall, but the shadows had disappeared, leaving only the faintest trace of their existence. "Sarah, it's okay," Henry said, trying to soothe their daughter, but she was inconsolable. "Get me out of here!" she screamed, and in that moment, Helen felt a deep-rooted fear clawing its way to the surface, threatening to consume her whole. The family decided to leave the house at dawn, but as they packed their belongings, the shadows returned, creeping into every corner, whispering promises of horror. "Mom, they're not going to let us go!" Sarah cried, her voice shrill with terror. But it was too late. The shadows lunged forth, wrapping around the family like a suffocating shroud. Helen's screams echoed in the night, swallowed by the darkness that consumed them whole. As the sun rose over Eldridge Hollow, the McAllister family was never seen again, their absence marked only by the whispers of shadows that danced upon the walls, forever haunting the house where they had once lived. In the end, the shadows claimed their prize, leaving nothing but an echo of despair that resonated through the empty halls, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked just beyond the light.